I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
The more you talk, the harder I want to hit you.
I'm happy because of being here today. Fuck you.
Come on, you want me to drive? No. You're supposed to be suicidal, remember? I'll
Anybody
drive.
a drive?
Let's get in the car.
Fucking shit. Fuck me in the fucking ass. Fuck you, you fucking stupid cunt.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I am here with a brand new movie review. And this movie review is going to be for this weekend's newest release, SISU Road to Revenge. This was a film I had no idea was being made. I didn't think there was actually going to be a sequel to this movie. I was surprised at hearing there would actually be a second film. Because SISU, the first film, was a movie that wasn't really really hugely profitable. It didn't really make much impact at the box office, and it wasn't really noticed by domestic markets, so I thought it was going to be more of a one-and-done film, but surprisingly, turns out they were making a sequel after all, and so I was also surprised and actually excited. And I'll see more of my reaction to the sequel during the review. So anyway, the plot of SISU Road to Revenge is, after the first film where he got all the money and he returned home, he returns to his house. His family was murdered during the war. But the man that refuses to die, once again played again by Jorma Tomila, he dismantles the house, he puts it on his truck, and he wants to rebuild it somewhere safe in their honor. But then the Red Army commander who kills family, who's played by Stephen Lane, who, I will admit I don't mind him as an actor. I think he's pretty decent as an actor. He's back hell-bent on finishing the job. Because he's been released by Richard Brake's character, who also appears in this as one official who sends Stephen Lane on the job to kill the lead character. And Stephen Lane's character is a relentless, eye-popping cross-country chase that ensues, and it's a fight to the death. So, as for my reaction. So, y'all remember my review for SISU back 2 years ago, and well, y'all remember, before I saw Godzilla -1 at the end of 2023, I considered SISU my favorite film of 2023. And then Godzilla -1 came out, and then it changed to Godzilla -1. But yeah, like I said, I had no idea we were getting a sequel to this, but I was hyped when I saw the trailer, and when I heard it was happening. So I saw the film last night, or this weekend, and how was it? So, I think this, well, the first film I think is equally as good, but I would say this is as equally good as the first one, if not actually better. And you know what? This is going to sound crazy for saying this, but it's taken nearly the whole entire year, but we are near the end of 2025, and I would have to say, this is my favorite movie of the year. Yeah, we're near the end of 2025, and it's been shitty for films, with rare exceptions, like Warfare, Sovereign, Sinners, Nobody 2, Day the Earth Blew Up, Novocaine, Caught Stealing, F1, The Bad Guys 2 are exceptions, and maybe some other exceptions, but guys, it's still been a shitty year for movies, regardless. But at least we're near the end of it finally, and at least we got something like this. Like, now Warfare feels more realistic, and it does stay with you after you kind of watch it, but this film, I think this film is just a lot of fun. And also, in a way, kind of a satisfying other half, which I'll explain that, spoilers, in the review. So yeah, this is my favorite film of 2025. And it probably is going to stay number one. So, how was SISU 2 made? So, interview with Finnish, news agency, Helander actually expressed interest in a sequel if the film proved successful at the domestic box office. And in another interview he made that year, he also stated that he didn't have an idea what was going to happen next, but maybe someone would need the skills again, but they would see. And Hollander said the idea for the sequel's plot came while he was renovating the apartment, and in December 2023, Horma expressed interest in returning as protagonist Adami Corpi for a sequel. Then the same month, Hollander confirmed that he would return as director for the sequel, and the Finnish Film Foundation granted financial support of Finnish dollars of 50,000, and the amount of support increased to 1 million, and the budget for the entire film was announced at 11 million. It was one of the most expensive Finnish films. Then around March 2024, they announced that filming would begin in late summer, and the film would premiere in less than 2 years. So filming for the sequel completed late 2024, and according to Hollander, the tone of this movie was going to reference stuff like Indiana Jones, reference James Bond, and reference Buster Keaton films. And Tamil said the role was pretty much demanding for his age, but he was able to endure it by applying the lessons he learned from theater director Harka Turka. So, after the film was officially shot and completed, Road to Revenge would premiere at Fantastic Fest on September 21st, 2025, and will release in Finland on October 22nd, by SF Film Finland and the United States this weekend, by Screen Gems through Sony Pictures Releasing. And it's got a positive reception from critics, but I have a feeling it's once again just going to be their domestic box office and probably going to fade out quick. Because as you all know, the first one kind of did that as well. The first one wasn't really huge at domestic box office either. I don't think this will really be either. But when I get to the end of this review, I'll explain why maybe that could be a good thing if it doesn't do well. I'll explain that. But you all know this weekend we also have stuff like, well, there is Rental Family, which I also am interested in checking out. It's another Brendan Fraser film that I'm interested in checking that out. But for the more wider releases, I can already bet you what's going to be number one. It's Wicked for Good, which I have no interest in watching because I don't give a fuck about Wicked. Okay? I don't give a shit about Wicked. So I don't care. Wicked ain't my cup of tea. I'm not watching a 2.5-hour Broadway adaptation. A 2.5-hour part one. And I've heard this movie is a lot less stellar. Like this one, like that one just literally looks like another remake of The Wizard of Oz, basically, from the trailer, so I don't care about Wicked. But back to this. Here are the good qualities in a story, and why Road to Revenge is just as great as SISU 1. So, this film is an insane trip from beginning to end. It really blows the first out of the water, though the first one is still equally great. Like, the action is way better. The villain is a lot better in this one because, well, you had quite a few villains in Season 1. This one, you have one simpler villain in this one. And I feel this guy's a lot more memorable because this guy has a connection to our main character. The villains in the first one, they were after the gold as well. This guy, he actually has a connection to Sisu. He was the guy that murdered, a connection to the lead character. This was a guy who murdered the family of the main character. And now he has to finish a job and kill him next. He's like assigned by Richard Brake's character. And like, the movie's also emotional and it really makes the viewer feel things, especially in the ending. The effects are also great. The story is what it's like with Season 1, and it has more though. It's simple, but it's done well. And it's refreshing where the protagonist really stands firm against the grip of communism and triumphs. There's something really satisfying about like freedom, individuality, and resilience prevailing over control and conformity. And it captures that spirit well. Like, Season 2 was awesome start to finish. Like, there's reasons why it's my favorite film of the year. It's very brutal, it's funny, it's inventive, and another thing, this isn't really just a sequel. This also can be seen as kind of the other half of the first film. The first film ended with him finally getting his ticket back home. This movie, he's finally back home. Right here. It's kind of the other half of the story. So in a way you kind of could watch this as one entire... Well, I'll explain this more at the end, but The hint is you could actually watch both Season 1 and this back to back once they come out on DVD. If they have a double feature DVD, Season 1 and 2, I think I'll just buy both of those in one, because this could be watched as one entire 3-hour film. And Jorma Tamilia is great again. Anime is really a man of few words. Like, he talked a little bit at the end of the movie, but this one, he doesn't talk at all. And his expressions and actions really keep you invested in the character. The man refuses to give up and die, and we see some more emotional scenes this time. And the technical side is also strong. The action scenes are wild, they're well crafted. The cinematography is very great from Mika Orazma, and there's good sound design and the music, and it really makes the whole thing feel more expensive. Like, it's made with less money, though, than most American productions. So how do we start off the movie? So we start off in 1984, where Finland cedes the territory of Karelia by Soviet Union with a peace treaty in the aftermath of World War II, and then 2 years later, after he got that gold in Lapland, Anime crosses the border with it, as we saw at the end of the first film. He goes into Karelia as he's finally home, but it turns out his family all died during the war. And like right there, you can see the emotion on his face. He knows his family's gone, and he was fighting the first one to get back to them with that gold by other rival soldiers that wanted it. He's finally back home. But sadly, they're already dead. They've been taken from the war. So he decides he can't stay in that lot anymore, but he's not going to abandon the house. Instead, he decides to dismantle the house, and he's going to rebuild it somewhere a lot safer in their honor. He puts on a truck and stuff, but the trouble's not over yet. Because the Red Army discovered that Anime is back because of their soil. And so agents, like one played by Richard Brake, who is quite a well-known horror actor, releases our main antagonist, Stephen Lane's character, Igor Dragunov. And this guy's the man that killed his family. He was pretty much the one that started this all. He's released from Siberia, and he'll be granted freedom if he kills Anime, which was what Richard Brake tells him, and Lane agrees to this, and he sets off with a few soldiers. And so guys, the actor who plays Anime, Stephen Lane, Richard Brake, they're really the only 3 actors in the film. You do get some like background soldiers, but other than that, those are the only really 3 central characters in the movie. Which, honestly, if this is kind of the other half of the story, I think that's just for the best. Don't cram in some more characters, you know? Just keep it 3 simple characters like that, because this film is meant to be really about him relocating his house in his family's honor. It's not trying to set up another universe. It's not trying to set up another Marvel universe. It's not trying to set up another Fast and Furious. No, it's just trying to be a simple story, and I like that. Let's not try to set up another cinematic universe. Not every movie needs a cinematic universe. Like what Hollywood thinks. And this really has a lot of Mad Max elements in it. It's like, the lead character, his family died, and he's pretty much trying to avenge them, and it's kind of got its own little Mad Max style thing. And like the first one, it's gory, it's over the top. Like, and you're in for a pretty wild ride. Like, the action's really good and inventive here. Like, like there's a bit where Anime, like, flips this plane over a truck. And the whole, like, you even get a reference to Die Hard with broken glass in a bit, or a mousetrap. And there's a flying tank trick and riding a missile. I'll explain some more action in a little bit. And yeah, SISU was a bit believable at times, but Road to Revenge just has fun with it. It goes overboard. It's really how you top a great action movie that was jumped to an already really great first film. That's the thing, it would have been hard to make a sequel to SISU, because SISU was kind of just a one simple story, but they managed to do more. They managed to kind of add another half of the first one, while not still somewhat being a sequel-ish, but also being more of the other epilogue of the first film. Everything is like well shot and well edited. Like, think of the double feature stuff, like, you know, Halloween 1 and 2, or The Collector and the Collection, Crank 1 and Crank 2. It's kind of like those double features. This movie and the first film. It's kind of really reminds me of those two double features where in a way like the story ends in the first sequel. Well, there was corpses and rejects, but that got ruined by a shitty third film. Sadly, so that's not a double feature anymore. And special mention also goes to the great cinematography and the intense music. The stunt team also do great with this. The practical effects are also great. And the makeup on the blood is very realistic and it's very effective. Like, there is quite a bit of blood in the movie. Yeah, and there's some real locations. Like, it's not over green screened. Like, you can tell the locations are very real. And the story is simple, and Anami's motivation to carry home back to Finland is a very nice way to push things forward. Kind of in a way carry it back to Finland and have closure with the loss of his family. Because he just lost him in the war after all the shit he's been through. And also like Evil Dead 1 and 2 in terms of tone. Whereas the first Evil Dead, pure and bloody horror. The second, kind of full on comedy mode. It's more or less the same with SISU 2. It is a very vile movie, but it's not as serious. In fact, it actually has quite a few over-the-top comedic elements in it. There's a bit of dark comedy that some definitely could find very funny, while it doesn't go over comedic. It still takes the villain seriously, it still does some stuff a little serious. But it does have a bit more comedic element to it. If you know what I'm talking about. So, Anami dismantles his house, travels to the Finnish border. Then Stephen Lane's character leads this group of soldiers to go after him, and Anami kills the soldiers in some pretty over-the-top ways. One, he pretty much blows up the car shield, and one sends one flying into the car shield, pretty much flying through the car windshield, and pretty much just takes him out simply like that. But he spares Stephen Lane's character because he doesn't aware that he's involved in the deaths of his loved ones. Well, he doesn't know that yet, but Stephen Lane's character then pretty much orders a squad of motorcycles and airplanes to go after and kill Anami, but he battles his way through the soldiers right there, and then eventually some of his wood does fall off, but he uses some of the wood to actually kill a few of them. And then Stephen Lane's character, though, has more come in, and he has airplanes intercept and kill Anami, but Anami battles through them, and a bomber then drives him off in his truck off a cliff in the ocean. He recovers the remains of his home, he converts the logs into a raft, and he goes back to shore. And he stumbles upon this deserted tank, and for a while the soldiers obviously think Anami is nowhere to be seen, but because they only really saw his truck go in the water, but they couldn't find the wood or the body. And he uses his dynamite to catapult the tank over a Soviet border. The tank, though, gets destroyed, and unfortunately this gets Anami injured. Anami injures himself quite a few times. It's not this guy suffered a lot in the first one, this guy suffers more in this. At one point he has to bite off the wood of a knife, and you can tell it's painful on his teeth. Get that whole thing out, and I think he sticks in his leg for, later. And all stuff. This guy suffers a lot more injuries, and he buries his knife blade in his wound flesh. Obviously for, backup. He releases his dog. Sends his dog running off, and then he gets captured by Stephen Lane's character. And, well, that's another thing about this movie. This movie is surprisingly really short. I think it's actually a lot shorter than SISU 1 was. I think SISU 1 was, 94 minutes. This is, I think without credits, 86 minutes long. Yeah, it actually goes by pretty quick. SISU Road to Revenge, it really goes into the backstory of how his family got murdered during the war. And, of course, after World War II, the Soviet Union took part of Finland, and it put Anami's home in Russia. and he didn't really want the memories of his family and his home to fall, so he was going to take the house back, and he dismantled it piece by piece, and was going to rebuild it all in Finland. But because he's well-known, Russian soldiers were not done with him. And Soviet wanted to send the guy that killed his family to murder him and finish that job off. It's I really, it's actually such a great idea. Actually explore more of the protagonist's past. Actually introduce us to the guy that pretty much started the whole tragedy this guy went through, and then finished this guy off. Sent him out to finish the rest of the job. But then of course Adami actually has to basically finish off the guy that kills family once he finds that out. Like, the film pays homage to a lot of stuff. It pays homage to the Sergio Leone trilogy. First Blood, this movie even has a lot of Rambo elements in it. Like, it's got kind of like with the Rambo sequels, that got a little bit goofier minus Rambo 4. Rambo 4 went back to the serious tone of First Blood. Like Rambo First Blood 2 or Rambo 3, it kind of takes the goofy tones of those as well, much like this film does. The Road Warrior, Dirty Harry, like Once Upon a Time in West, the Indiana Jones films, because Indiana Jones was actually an inspiration for this movie. James Bond was an inspiration for a sequel, like they confirmed they were making it. And they wrap all that stuff into this extremely violent and visceral action film that has a deeper story. Kind of like about marriage, family, home. Adami just trying to survive, get his house to Finland, no matter what he goes through. Like, this is a film to watch if you like the first one. Then you'll definitely like this one just as much. Some may not like it as much as the first film, or some may love it as much as the first film, or some may love it a lot more in the first film, but it's still got the same beautiful action, the gore, and the filming. You have the Mad Max sprinkle, you get a masterpiece, you get more Adami SISU action scenes, and you get even better results. And once again, the lead character doesn't speak at all. He did speak a little bit in the first one at the end, but this movie, he doesn't speak at all. But you know what? I honestly don't care. This story isn't really supposed to be dialogue heavy. You're not trying to get some deep narrative. There's not supposed to really be any dialogue in it. Dialogue much. I don't care if a movie has no dialogue. Sometimes no dialogue can be a good thing. There's guns, there's bombs, beheadings. And I just love all of it. It's just a guy just trying to get the guy you saw in that first film now back home after the Goldie guy, now having to get his home back to his home place. The first film, he was kind of out in the war field, but he found Goldie, could finally go home. Now he's finally home, but his family's been killed. So he takes his family house to go to his hometown and restart over. Move on in peace. Have some peace with their deaths. I like how this story goes. So, we get on with the finale. So, Adami is now captured on the train, and Dragunov, tortures and whips him quite a bit, and you even see the whip marks on his back. This train that's going for Siberia, and this is when he finally finds out that Dragunov actually killed Adami's family, because he reveals his role in that to him. He was invigorated by the discovery of the family's killer, so Adami uses the knife in his flesh and breaks free from captivity, and he retrieves that in a very brutal scene. Wow. A scene that was really effective. And so, he makes his way through the train to the front, and he pretty much kills quite a few Soviet soldiers. The thing is that when he's trying to get there, he sees that a lot of Soviet soldiers are sleeping, and so he has to be as quiet as possible. He has to even kill a few that wake up, or kill ones that witness what he's doing to avoid alerting the people driving the train. And then right there, he runs into more problem. He gets throwback to Die Hard where John McClane stepped on glass. Unfortunately, there's one of them had a drinking ball that drops on the floor and breaks. And he has to unfortunately step on the glass. Or even break, or even almost fall on the glass even. Or kill a few soldiers with the glass. Stuff, and even steps on a mouse trap. And stuff wow. I cringed quite a bit watching this bit. And he goes through more train cars, and he murders more handlers, and he steals a bounty on Adami, and Adami then, Dragunov actually, while this was all happening, Dragunov was being congratulated by Richard Brake's character, but he overhears what's really going on, and he uncouples the train cars, and he murders his handlers, and of course then kills Richard Brake's character when he's about to get the money, and he steals the money. And after Adami gets his way through the soldiers, he finds this missile on a train, and he activates it. When it seems like the train's far away, he activates the missile, And it, like, boosts, like, the car that got detached by Dragunov all the way back to Dragunov. And just launches it like that, and the two get in a final fight, and it's an awesome final fight. He's finally getting his revenge on the guy that killed his family, that put him through all this hell. Dragunov, though, gets the upper hand, but Enemy then finishes off and detaches a still active missile from the train. And it launches to Dragunov, and at first it seems like it doesn't work. And what makes this death scene so satisfying is that it looks like it doesn't work, and Dragunov smiles thinking he's won and he's spared. But then, of course, just as he's getting all cocky and, like, kind of about to celebrate this, the missile pretty much then continues, like, it's like the missile's like, no, you're not lucky, bitch. And pretty much then goes, stabs him right into his skull, and then blows up, like, to a massive smithereen smoke. And it was a fitting end to this villain. This guy killed his family, and he was about to kill Enemy himself. But Enemy pretty much got his revenge on him and finished the job, and he pretty much died an embarrassing death. The guy that thought he was so tough ends up dying a humiliating death at the hands of a missile. And right there, it finally brings him closure. It brings Enemy closure, and his family is now avenged, and finally the people after him are now dead. Enemy is able to recover his home that's also tied on the train, and uses the train car to transport it across the Finnish border, unimpeded, and he also shows a passport to these Finnish soldiers, and they let him through. And then he makes it to Finland. And then, of course, once he's in Finland, he's rebuilding his home. And at first it seems like he's going to run into more trouble, because some other Finnish residents, including a few kids even, they approach, and they're pretty much like, we feel like you could use the help rebuilding that. And for it seems like because they're there with axe and a few other tools, Enemy thinks they're up to more trouble, but they're not. They actually see him building his house, and they offer to help him rebuild his house. And you can tell Enemy's just emotionally overwhelmed by this gratitude. Like, after everything this guy's been through, he's finally, like, he can finally be free from more hell. Everything this guy's been through, it seems like he's going to go for more hell, but it turns out these guys are going to actually help him build it. And he has this, and he had a look on his face like he feels touched by their act of kindness right there. And like the guy that offers is like, no need to explain anything. And they help him build the house. And you can see the tears on his face. And the movie's over. And the credits like, and no, you're wondering, isn't this just a trick or something? No. Because in the credits, you actually see them actually helping build the house. So they actually were being legitimate and helping him out. But that is how SISU 2 beautifully ends. This review may be a little short, but this movie's just too good for a long review. There's not much to really explain. But it's how SISU 2 wonderfully ends. And you know what? I'm glad this is where the movie ends. I'm glad they picked a definitive ending for the story. I'm glad they weren't trying to set up more sequels. Well, the director is thinking, maybe I'll do a third one. I don't know. I wanted this to conclude a story, but the possibility is open if I want to do a third one. You know what, dude? The director of these films, I honestly hope you don't do a third one. I honestly kind of hope you leave it here. I kind of don't want another one. Because think about this. Enemy finally killed the man that killed his family. He returned his house to his home. He finally came home to Finland. The people of Finland even offered to help him repair it. The job got done quicker, and now he could just settle at home in safety and seclusion, can finally mourn his family in peace, with no more trouble after him. The guy that killed his family is dead. So I'm glad the director ended this on a somewhat more definitive ending. He hasn't been too crazy about a third one happening, but he hasn't ruled it out. But I don't want a third one. I don't want a third film. Because I like this ending. I think this is a good way to wrap it up. I think this is a good book close on the movie. Don't make another one. Please don't make a third film. And a part of me also kind of does hope this film bombs at the box office so that this can stay the ending. Some people may yell, why do you want this movie to bomb at the box office if you like it? Because this ending was perfect. That way this ending can't be ruined. This ending can actually stay beautifully. It can actually close out the story. There is no more you can do. There is no more left to tell. It's done. It's over. That way this movie cannot, this SISU double feature, it cannot have an Alien 3. It cannot have a Halloween Ends. It cannot have a The Predator or Predator Badlands. It cannot have a Clerks 3. Then it cannot have a RoboCop 3. It cannot have a Beverly Hills Cop 3. It cannot have a Ninja Turtles 3. It cannot have a Dark Fate. I especially don't want a fucking Force Awakens or that shit. I don't want a diarrhea of No Destiny where as in Indiana Jones basically just becoming a CGI AI younger self and then just becoming an old loser getting shit on by Few Waller Bridge. I don't want that with this series. Okay, I want it to stay left alone. I want it to stay just 2 movies. This was the perfect ending to the series. And to me, this will be where this series ends. Road to Revenge was the end of the story. He came home, he killed the man that killed his family, he finally got to rebuild his family with Finland's help, and they could finally settle in peace, mourning his family, and moving on and coming at peace with their deaths. It is done, it is over. The end. Let's leave it this way. Please don't make a third one. Don't make a SISU 3. Don't make a prequel either. We don't need a prequel. Not everything needs a prequel either. Some may disagree with me, but I want to see a third one. I don't. I'd rather just stay alone. Like, what's gonna happen? What would happen in the third one? What are these guys gonna be traitors, or are suddenly apparently some more soldiers gonna suddenly know everything else? Even though World War II was kind of coming to an end around this time, so what else could you do? So, I mean, what else can you do now? Nothing left. Alright, so now do I have any bad qualities with SISU Road to Revenge? Honestly, no. Some may be mad it's too short, but I'm glad it's not 3 hours long. I'm glad this is 89 minutes long. It's a perfect way. Because it's not supposed to be like a sequel. Well, it's supposed to be kind of the epilogue of the first film. It's the other half. Like, hence why I say you could watch this and Season 1 as a double feature. Which, when this film comes out on DVD, and I hope they get a double feature DVD with 1 and 2, because I want to buy both of these, so that way I can rewatch the first one. I could just watch this as a 3-hour movie, because that's what it does feel like. Right there. Him, like, stuck in the warfield, finding gold, avoiding rival soldiers after the gold, and then finally outsmarting them with help from a few others, and then he finally gets home, and he has to kill the man that killed his family, and he finally rebuilds his home. A perfect little story. So I don't have any bad qualities, because this is my favorite movie of 2025. So yeah, SISU Road to Revenge is perfect. Please do yourself a favor. If you love the first film, please watch this movie. So in the end, SISU Road to Revenge is just as worth a watch and buy as SISU 1 for sure, no doubt. If you want to see an equally or even better sequel to a great action film, or even a perfect little other half epilogue to that first film. Anyways, that's it for my view of SISU Road to Revenge. If you want to rank SISU Road to Revenge, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you love the first film and were eager to see this live up to the hype, well, wish granted. This sequel is even better and just as great all in one, so totally give us a watch for sure. And if we're going to rank SISU 2, I'm going to give SISU 2 a damn 10 out of 10. Alright, there we go, guys. That officially wraps up SISU 2, or Road to Revenge. Now I want to know in the comments down below what you guys thought about SISU Road to Revenge. Whether you love this movie, whether you thought the first one was better. And until then, guys, that will be it for this review. Thank you all for watching. And if you like this and want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe to Don G. Corleone.